friends, I'm Sarah. Welcome. This is Thrills Kills the Booktube. Today I'm doing the new Booktuber tag just to answer some basic questions so you can get to know me, what this channel is going to be about, my reading taste, style, etc. So without further ado, let's get something to drink, get comfy, get cozy. I've got a Dunkin' in pumpkin. I will be referring to my notes because my memory is shit at this point. So here we go. The first question, why did you start a booktube channel? Good question. Love to read, obviously, or I wouldn't be here. Specifically, I like to read horror, true crime, psychological thrillers, really dark stuff. And I also like to watch really dark movies and TV series, and no one in my real life does that. My friends support me from a far distance, basically. So I thought it'd be fun to get on here and meet other people who enjoy similar reading styles that I have. I've had an Instagram for a little bit, but there's just something different about being able to talk in front of a camera with people versus just interacting on a set of photographs. I've also learned a lot just in 24 hours about like setup and lighting and filming, things that I never thought I would need to know about because I don't work in any type of industry that requires that knowledge, but love learning new stuff, so that's been super fun. Second question, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to booktube? Really enjoy darker stuff, horror, really dark psychological thrillers, like basically anything you read where you get to the end and you're like, what the did I just read? I feel really depressed now. Those tend to be my favorite types of books. So I don't necessarily see much of that represented on here. Could just be that my algorithm hasn't brought me to it. So I think that's something that's unique and different. But I also really enjoy watching horror, like I said. So this will mostly be a book account, but where it overlays, I'd like to also make some videos about what I'm watching. What makes me unique, trying to rein it in a little bit right now, but I am very irreverent and sarcastic, and frankly, I'm at a level where I just don't bullshit anymore. So I'm 35. When you get to your 30s, if you're not there yet, you kind of just reach a level of I don't give up anymore. I don't really get caught up in the whole, this book is great, book hype, we gotta read this. Verity by Colleen Hoover. No. I'm not gonna get into that. If I don't like it, I don't like it. I'm gonna tell you it sucks. I'm gonna tell you why. In fact, the whole reason I started this damn account is I thought it'd be a good idea to read I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Oh my god, what a terrible freaking idea. That was the worst book I've ever read in my entire life. Thank you very much. As I get more comfortable doing this, more of that. What are you most excited for with this new channel? I always thought it was so fun to see people do like collabs with each other and tag each other and stuff. You're all commenting on each other's stuff. Just that whole like building community around our love of reading and books. I'm super excited to join in on that. I'm joining in some book clubs, some live events, that type of things. And something to look forward to kind of breathe creative life into as we're going into the winter. Why do you love reading? So I have been reading, my mom says since I was in preschool. I kind of find that hard to believe, but at least since kindergarten. Let's start there. So this is long before social media, children having iPads and iPhones, that kind of a thing. So for me, it's always been a means of cheap entertainment and being able to escape to a world other than the one I was living in. Something that I needed to be able to do once in a while as a child. And as we get older, we have more options. We've got Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, TikTok, YouTube. At the end of the day, for me, reading is always going to be the most entertaining form of entertainment that's out there, and I think it's so easy to lose yourself in it, much easier than if I'm watching something on Netflix. Or series got you into reading? Well, I can remember, you're assigned these little like hop on pop type books, when you're in first, second, third grade and you're learning to read. But as far as the book that made me a reader in my spare time, not just what was required for school, I can remember being babysat by my grandmother over the summer, and she had so many bookshelves, all these old books, like old leather-bound books. And I picked one out and it said, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. And I was like, what's Brooklyn? I don't know what that is. That sounds cool. So anyways, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, if you haven't read it. Not a horror novel by any means, but does have some very dark and bleak chapters, characters. I'm not quite sure I should have been reading that at the young age I was reading it at. I was like 9 or 10, but anyways, love it. Still one of my favorite books to this day, and that is probably the book outside of school that got me into what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I want to know, how are you able to read so much in such a short period of time? And are you actually retaining what you're reading? Because I see people with these, wrap up videos, and God bless them. I love them. But they're holding a stack of books like this, falling out of their arms and their little thumbnail. I'm like, I'm just always suspicious. How are you able to read 25 books in 1 month? 20 books, 15 books in 1 month, and still retain and still remember what you did and did not like about that book? See, I'm a quality over quantity person. I'm just a little suspicious. But if you got tips and tricks, send them my way. Okay, love what challenges do I foresee with starting a BookTube account? Well, my wallet and time. Spend all this money on books. Every time I watch a video on here, I find like 5 more books I want to read. That's definitely a challenge, that whole like keeping up with the Joneses type thing, right? And like there are constantly new horror books coming out, new movies, new TV series. People are making good YouTube content about all these things. These new books coming out, you want to go get them so you can be in the conversations, make videos about them, and not kind of miss out on that buzz or that hype. But at the same time, all that money you're spending on it. So that's kind of one challenge, is trying to weigh that. And time. I mean, I work a full-time job. I have a partner I want to spend time with. I have a farm. I've got lots of animals. That takes up a lot of time. And then reading. I'm not a very fast reader. It takes a lot for me. Sometimes I have to reread whole pages for it to sink in. Thanks. When did I start reading? Kind of answered this a little bit ago. My mom says preschool. I don't know. Now that I'm an adult, I don't know that I know that that's true. I would say kindergarten. But as far as reading on my own and my outside of school hours, I can remember being like 8 or 9 and really starting to get into it. Super obsessed with the whole Black Beauty books. There was a whole series. Going back to the previous question, I just stopped reading in high school and college just because I was busy reading assigned stuff. Graduated college and I finally had big girl money and could spend it on books. I actually used to read more fantasy or YA fantasy. For a while there, I was into the whole Grishaverse and Six of Crows and what was it called? Queen of the Tierling. And it's funny now, because then I went to grad school, didn't read for 3 years, and then got done with grad school during the pandemic and got back into reading. And it's funny now because I've got boxes of those books that I'm like, why did I ever read those? Now I'm much more focused on horror. Question, what kind of books do I read? Dark, bleak, scary, ghost stories, possessions, haunted houses, some creature features, some slashers. Looking at you, my heart is a chainsaw. Cults, I love reading about cults. Anything dark, spooky. Give me a rural setting, woman home alone at night, hears a spooky noise and she's living on an old farmhouse and may or may not be haunted with the ghosts of the family who used to live here and their graveyards in the backyard, something like that. Is that setting the tone for you? Where do I read? So not here. You'd think I would read where my books are. This is my office. I work in here all day because I work from home. I don't want to also read in here. So I typically read on our couch. We have a nice big sectional. I got all my pillows the way I like it. And in a sectional, there's always a L. I like to lay back in the little L and read there, or in bed at night. My partner goes to bed very early, and so I'm a night owl, and so it ticks him off that I'm reading at night. So I recently got this little light that clips onto your book. I'll try that. What does my book collection look like? I really only have these 2 bookshelves. You can't see all the books, and this is kind of cool. It's a tree, kind of goes like this. Got that as a Christmas gift. I have been trying to be responsible and get more ebooks and audiobooks. I've got Kindle Unlimited and I've got Audible subscription, so I'm already paying for those. I might as well read through those, and then also trying to be responsible not to take up all the physical space in our house because we don't have a very large house, and he gets a little upset every time a new book finds its way. We won't talk about it. To truly answer this question, my basement is full of books. I was talking about the books I used to read, fantasy, YA fantasy, that sort of thing. I've got boxes of those and historical fictions down in my basement, which is probably not the best. I'm not reading them anymore, but whatever. They've probably gotten damaged by now. They've been down there for over 5 years. I need to go through those and do something with that. That would be my full collection. But as far as the collection I'm reading, this, my Audible, and so that's all the formal questions. Again, I'm Sarah. This is Thrills and Kills. If you enjoy horror, true crime, psychological thrillers, everything Halloween, spooky season, spooky home decor, that's my vibe, you're welcome here. Anyone's welcome here, but if you're a romance reader, I'm not going to talk about the kind of books that you want to talk about. And I don't want to hear you talk about those books. I'm sorry. Colleen Hoover lovers, this ain't the place for you. Love you, not the place for you. I also recently started a book club. It's called the Dark and Twisty Book Club. I am on a lot of different Facebook reading groups and pages, and so I just kind of put out there feelers because I wasn't seeing a lot of book clubs where there actually was discussion happening and they weren't just like dead old book clubs. I wasn't seeing them for the genres I read, so I recently started on the book club's website, and it's also an app. It's called the Dark and Twisty Book Club. We have about 180 members already. Currently we are reading Chasing the Boogeyman, and we're going to be discussing that there in our threads. And then for October, we're currently voting, so I'll put the link down in the description. It's also in my About Me section, or if you go to bookclubs.com or the app, the Dark and Twisty Book Club, that you'll find us on there. So we're currently doing a poll until Monday. We're doing one shorter novel or novella and then one longer. You can read one or the other or both. We may do some sort of a live discussion. We haven't figured that out yet. It's just kind of a busy month for a lot of people, so we might just discuss it in the forums. So it looks like our shorter book is going to be Dark Harvest. I'm excited. That's been on my to read list for a while. Our longer one, it's looking like it's gonna be Darcy Coates' Gallows Hill. I've never read any Darcy Coates before, so that'll be a good excuse for me, and we would love to have you. So, little shameless self-promotion here. We'd love to have you join us if you're not already in about 5 other book clubs. That's me, that's the video, that's the channel, that's the book club. It's a miracle there was no barking during the filming of this. I have 3 big ass dogs, and they'll probably make a cameo or 2 or 3 in one of my videos. And the next few days I'll also be filming a spooky season reading plan video. I don't do TBRs. I'll get into that in that video for a variety of reasons. I'm not a believer in those. I'm more in a believer of mood reading, and here's like a pile of books you would like to get to in the near future versus a very strict list. But we'll get into that in that video. So stay tuned for that and what I'm going to be interested in trying to get to over the next month. Thank you if you've stuck around to the end of the video. Really appreciate it. I promise I will get better at all of this, slowly learning. If you wouldn't mind, I'd love if you would subscribe, stick around, comment, like, share my videos. I've got links to my Instagram and book club down below and in the community section. But that's it. Thank you guys, and in the meantime, stay spooky.